There was 300 homes and change, only 61 sold.
Yeah, buyers who think that prices are going to come way down. And you can't change belief that quickly.
We don't need a new market, you just need a strategy.
Yeah.
Sellers. They are pricing for a market that no longer exists.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
Just like, I didn't even answer the question.
Yeah.
So tell me what you think that meant.
It's the hardest period in any market is the adjustment period where people have to realize that things have changed, right? If we're going up slowly for 20 years like we did the first 20 years of this decade, everyone kind of understands how they have to price and they do their thing. But when we see a market change, we see that wrap it up and wrap it down. It's so hard for them to wrap their heads around it. And there's so many people who still say, well, I know, but 3 years ago, my neighbor sold for this, and so I want to put that price on it, right? And that just doesn't exist anymore.
So there was 300 homes and change that came to the market in January.
Yep.
Only 61 out of that group sold.
Yeah, that tells you something.
Yeah, that's a big number. And I think it was only 185 single-family homes that sold out of 978 that was on the market for January. So the market isn't slow, but I didn't know if you realized this. So I looked at, because I keep my spreadsheet. Yeah. 2024, there were 193 single-family homes.
Okay, yeah.
Last year, there were 191 single-family homes. Yeah. And this year, we were 185.
Yeah.
So what do you think the market is slower for this year?
I always hate this. We did have a bit of a challenging weather January, but I would also say that
snow days on Mondays are the best.
Well, it depends on your perspective sometimes. If you have two little kids running around, I love them, but I'm trying to get some stuff done too. So, but you're right. Monday snow days are the long weekend is a good addition.
Yeah.
I think that there's just still this hesitancy that we've talked about before, right? That, they have time, buyers have time to make decisions. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's still lots of buyers who think that prices are going to come way down, all of that. And you can't change belief that quickly. So, that slight slowing is going to be.
So let's talk about that. Buyers think that the prices are going to come down. And I mean, it's easy for them to think that because that's all they hear on the news.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that the rest of the market got to catch up to COVID prices?
Yeah, I think that's the right way to put it, right? Is that, things like wages have to catch up, all that, and the market will just sort of slowly get there. But when you look at our affordability in Atlantic Canada compared to the rest of Canada still, it's still dramatically cheaper to live here. I was talking with a friend of mine who was in Guelph, and average price up there is still north of $800,000. That's average. Ours is in the fives, right? In Halifax, you go to St. John, New Brunswick, it's in the low threes, right? Still affordable here. So there is some catching up to do for sure. The market has to, I think the market will be nice and flat for a while. The
2% increase that we used to have.
The 2% increase, but that'll give everyone time to adjust, which is again what I was saying off the top here is that the adjustment period is the hard period for sure. So,
yep. But when I look at the rest of it catching up, so what was that one out in Sackville that I'm always talking about?
Yeah.
Selling for 500.
Yeah.
And then right after COVID was done, the next house sold for 374, fully upgraded.
That's right.
I think now if the $500,000 home were to sell today, they may break even.
Yeah, even take a loss, even take a little loss. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, so there's I hate to say this, but there's a top to every little portion of the market, right? So it's hard. It's hard on that individual for sure.
But I mean, I can imagine of a buyer agent going into, let's say, out of the downtown core, let's say by 45 minutes.
Yep.
So I know and that when the market was going to shift, that purchase that you were making, you had to really consider what you were going to pay for and what you were buying.
Yeah.
Because I was saying that throughout all COVID.
Yeah.
The market's going to change.
It will change. It always does.
And, I have a client, they overpaid by almost $200,000.
Yeah. And now they're trying to get back out.
Because life changes,
life changes.
And my heart breaks for them. And so those are hard conversations that I I struggle with sellers, but
Yep.
it's the reality. And
It's the
the
reality.
agent didn't know any difference when they were buying it.
No, absolutely. And we were certainly, we always have to remember that we're also dealing with adults here, right? Who, that we don't know if that agent gave all the recommendations in the world to say this is too much money.
Yeah.
But people still were making decisions there, and they were hard decisions to make. Like if you wanted to own a home, it felt like the price was going up 2% every month almost is what it felt like, right? And so you felt like you were trying to play catch up to the market there, and that was a hard time to be living in for sure for buyers.
So my thoughts this year is that there is going to be a lot of seller fatigue.
Yeah.
I think during COVID there was buyer fatigue.
Absolutely.
Like they were, buyers were frustrated, they were stressed out. But now the shoe has switched.
Yes. Yep.
And now it's on the sellers, and I don't understand how several sellers are not hearing that the market isn't the same.
Yeah.
So what can we do, you think, to educate more?
I think that stuff like this, honestly, like you have the conversation in a public format like this, you're telling people one-on-one, like, it's hard because it means real dollars for people. They don't necessarily want to hear it. And then just generally, like you do have to hear things multiple times for it to sink in. You have to then feel it and see it in your own eyes, in your own neighborhood with the houses that are selling. So I think this is the exercise that we have to go through as an industry, is just talk about it. And then, people will kind of come to those conclusions as they experience it themselves. So I think that's the best you can do.
Sometimes it's not always the first agent in.
Yeah.
Right? Just like, if your wife or your husband is telling you something, you're not listening.
Yep.
Someone else, I get it.
That's right. Yeah.
So what kind of sentiment are you hearing in the office when, you're listening to agents talk about their sellers? What's the struggle?
There's two, I would say. The first struggle is that first initial price conversation, right?
Yeah.
That initial price conversation still continues to be difficult because, the market changed so quickly that it's hard. Right?
Yeah.
And then the second is, maintaining I don't want to say maintaining the relationship, but that's the best word I can think of, is that it used to be a 2-week engagement that you had with someone, and then effectively the deal was done and you were moving on to closing. Now it could be 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, it's different for every listing. And so, maintaining the expectations as you go through a longer time period is a real challenge, because, sellers want to hear from you. And sometimes you don't have as much to say as you did during COVID in terms of the activity on the house.
Yeah, well, that's why I never want to talk about, this many people viewed your property online, because I'm just going to upset you every week. And especially, if the needle's not moving. And, doesn't matter how much content you create at that point in time, because at the end of the day, the market's the market.
The market's the market, and people will come in and make a decision, what's right for them, and they will make a decision based upon the value they perceive versus what they could get elsewhere.
So are agents in our office now saying that the market, so clearly we're down from 2025 and 2024. Are they feeling that the market is busier, or are they just...
I honestly, it's kind of a boring answer, but it feels like we've just kind of chugged along at about the same we've been on for the last 3 years, ever since sort of mid 2022, where we saw that big drop in terms of the transaction volume. It doesn't feel like we've solved that, right?
No.
We're just kind of in that same kind of funk in some ways with respect to that. And
so is it because the seller is thinking, well, where am I going to go? Is that still... Do you know there was 128 new construction homes that were listed in January?
Yeah, not surprising. So not surprising. So
sorry, I just kind of blurted that out, but because I did that stat and I'm like, wow, like that's a lot of homes. So only 31 of them sold, by the way. Out of the, but is that enough to give the seller confidence to list, to move?
The same is true with sellers as it's been since I started in the career and since you started in the career, is that houses will sell when they're priced appropriately, right? And so if you're looking to give confidence to your seller, the thing that you need to do is have a realistic discussion about where the price needs to be, right? And if you put a realistic price on the property, there will be a buyer out there. The idea of investing in real estate has not gone away from one generation to the next, and so there will be buyers out there, but they are harder on your value proposition as a seller at this point. If you are not getting the house ready, if you're putting too high a price on it, if there's so many conditions on it that it makes it difficult, buyers will simply choose to go elsewhere. And that's true of builders through to the person selling, doing resale on their home. So.
And even how your house is looking. So having a conversation this morning with a client, and I said, I see your neighbor's house is for sale. So this is a meeting I'm going on next week.
Yep.
And so they've been on the market now 3 months, and the price is reasonable.
Yep.
But I'm looking at the house, and it's still brown paint, and no staging, and sexy cells.
Yeah, sexy cells, exactly. And it's hard because this is the way that people live, and you're kind of making a comment when you're an agent about how people live and their taste and things like that. But that isn't the comment you're making. You're making the comment to say, this is what's going to appeal to the broadest number of people that are coming in here. They don't want to buy the picture that you painted. They want to paint their own picture, right?
Yep.
And so give them a blank canvas to work with so that they can imagine what their picture will look like, right? And
I agree.
I think that's the art of getting a house ready.
Looking at what's selling and whatnot. And again, there is a price point, I feel, that sits in purgatory.
Yeah.
Apart from the $1 million listings, what price would you think it would be?
I'm going to guess it's between sort of $750,000 and $1 million is the price. So
it's in the 600s.
Really? Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because you're not under 600.
You're not a first timer,
right?
Yeah.
And then you have those people who want to move up.
Yeah.
I would say 649 to 689, 699.
Yeah.
I feel that is the most difficult market for sellers.
It's funny because I looked at I was looking at last year's new construction stuff as well, and there's such a massive number of, whether they're semi-detached or whatever, homes that are in that price point right now too, that are new construction. Sort of 639 is what I kind of was remarking on, to 689 seems to be, there's a glut of them there, right?
So I don't know. Well, it's just these people not moving up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
But you do there's still $1 million homes selling.
Yeah.
And I think the highest one for January was 1.19, I think.
Didn't see, yeah.
So that market is still there.
Yeah.
But whatever these people aren't moving up to the 600s.
Yeah.
I found that astonishing.
If you think about the dynamic, I've thought about this a lot. Like the dynamic of someone who bought their home for, let's say, $475,000 in 2020, right? What they're facing today is the sticker shock of their new interest rate. And so now their monthly payment, for that's probably gone from $2,500 to $2,900 or whatever it is. They start to think about, okay, well now I'm going to move up, but I'm still dealing with that sticker shock from my mortgage payment going up. And so I think that there's a little element of that coupled with everything going on in the world. Plus, so when you start to layer these things on top of each other, you kind of just say, you know what, let's just stay put. You know what I mean? And that's what happens. That slows the market down. Right?
No, and I just think that we don't need a new market. You just need a strategy.
Yeah.
And
totally agree.
Anytime I'm speaking with a potential seller now, whoever you decide to go with as an agent, you need to have patience.
Yeah.
And even for properties that are under 600, I have one listed now, and I only have 4 or 5 showings at 449, single family.
Yeah, wild. Yeah,
that's wild.
But I was actually speaking about you the other day, and I was up in front of a group, and we were talking about the idea of having sort of a proven process or proven system, right? And I referenced the fact that, Sandra in our office in Halifax, She like only lists properties on Thursday morning, and then the marketing starts on this day, and then this starts on the Monday, and then this starts on this day. And the value of doing it the same over and over again is that you found the formula that produces success, right? And that's one of the things that I think people should be looking for in an agent, is not just, do I like the person, but do they have a process where it's going to work, right? Like, if I go to the doctor and say, hey, listen, I'm not feeling well, and they say, yeah, let's try this. You don't feel as good as they say, oh yeah, here's the problem we need to solve. The way to solve it is A, B, C, D, E step. Then you'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
You have a proven A, B, C, D, E step, and it's proven to work. So that's what I like about what you've done with your listings over the years.
Thank you for that. And it's, and that would have started back in 2014.
I learned it from you. You know what I mean? You were the first person I remember who was that, I don't want to say rigid, that's not the right word, but you were that disciplined with the way in which you were handling all of your new stuff that came to market. So
it keeps me organized,
sure.
I think, for starters, and then it allows me, because I want to be organized, it allows me to service the client better. That I know that on Monday mornings, you're going to hear from me.
Yeah, you do a true launch of a listing, right?
Yes.
Versus, hey, does Tuesday of next week work for you, or Friday? And then I'll scramble to figure out where to go from there. Like, I think that's the beauty of what you've done. Is I remember the origin of the conversation was, I think you had like 8 listings on a Thursday, and we were talking about whether our listing person could get them all in on time, right? And I was like, why are you doing them all on Thursday? And you said, well, this is how I launch listings, right? And I thought, oh yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way to do it. So.
It works a lot of the time, but I mean, there's an outlier that,
sure,
like, not every
perfect.
listing I touch sells. But it's certainly not for lack of trying.
And not every diagnosis that the doctor gives you in steps is going to result in you being cured, right? But they have the best practice, and that's what you have there. So that's good. So when I think about the way in which we have to approach the market as a seller's agent, or if I'm a seller looking for a seller's agent, I think I have to find someone who they have a process that they know is going to result in my success as the seller, right? So again, that's where I think you excel there. Not that I'm here to, we're here to talk about the market, but
you know what? Like, I'm
you're
good.
good at
like,
it.
hey.
So, yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.